All right. Please feel free to take your seats. We're just going to get kicked off here. I forget how long our panel is.
I think it's an hour.
Okay, I'll take it. So, hello, everybody. Happy MAGFest 2025. We are so excited to do a panel for you all. I hope you're all comfortable. We're going to be filming it thanks to the lovely efforts of Jeff over there. So thank you, Jeff, in advance. And thank you, Future Ro, for doing the panel.
Yeah, thanks, Ro.
You're editing it.
Yeah.
And once again, for accessibility, we'll add captions and everything, and we'll plug this at the end, I'm sure. But you can always ask us questions. Peter is one of the loveliest people I know and one of the most helpful people I know in the world of video.
I try.
We get a lot of DMs about just everything we do, so I do think we both take pleasure. So if you're confused at any point in the panel, please feel free to ask more questions. That's what panels should be for, right? That and selling stuff. So I'm going to switch over to the boring PowerPoint. But this is not going to be a PowerPoint kind of panel. It's going to be largely Q&A, and we have a PowerPoint to show you pictures of your answers, possibly.
Yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. Hi, I'm Peter Gillette. I have over 10 years of filmmaking experience. Don't ask me how. And I've worked with a number of VGM folks, like Panuganti, surprise, Insane in the Rain, Family Jewels, Don Palambi, Game Grooves, David, you can read, I hope. But also, I have industry experience working at Princeton University, Oleo Creative, which is a color grading post house in LA. I worked with Patreon, which was a whole lot of fun on a couple of projects. The things I love doing the most is directing. I love color grading, editing. I like doing all of it. Directing's my favorite, though. My camera of choice, which we don't have here today because it's on XP stage, is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. It's the best. I also like the GH5. Shout out GH5. And I am a freelance filmmaker, so please hire me if you have the money in the project.
The panel is just a front.
Yeah, this is just a front. Please hire me. Thank you.
All right, and my name is Ro Panuganti. I've been a part of the VGM scene and or online musician since roughly 2011, so 14 plus years. I am old. I was doing this when the Wii had like maybe just come out, and I was like, you know, fumbling through Zelda things. Are we cool on AV? Awesome. And obviously many people might know me because I'm a musician first. I've been playing guitar forever, and thanks to the wonderful efforts of my friends and the scene on YouTube specifically, I've been able to make my own videos. I've filmed for a lot of different bands. I've gotten to meet amazing people and or my wife through video editing. I've edited for, again, a lot of mutual friends, including my boy Carlos Eni, Joe Zija. Who else did I put down there? Oh, yeah, it's right here. The band Split Screen. A lot of really awesome opportunities. And, of course, just myself. I make a lot of my videos for me. And coming from the YouTube days of taking your webcam and pointing it down at your guitar and hiding your face, back when privacy was a thing.
Back in the Swiggles day.
The Swiggles days, yes. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, or you know that my band played main stage last year at MAGFest, which was a humongous highlight for me as well, while Pete here, of course, helped film. So we're all interwoven in this beautiful tapestry. My flavor is, of course, a lot of VFX, so a lot of my videos feature green screening, recently Unreal Engine 5 and Blender, also just interesting camera places, filming at valleys, wearing a T-Rex costume, you know, everything that you dream you can do as a kid and then stop doing. So with that, I shoot with Sony's right now, and that's my weapon of choice. My camera is also in the XP stage, getting ready for this amazing weekend. So with that, we've got, you know, a lot of, you know, different experiences and a lot of funny stories and just interesting ways that we've taken video games and, of course, and tried our best to make really cool music videos out of them. So with that, this, again, is not a presentation where we're just going to talk about all the things we're proud of, per se.
Yes.
But I think it's important that there's some people here who maybe have never made a music video before, but are thinking about it, or some experts here who are trying to like figure out what they could do next. So raise your hand if you have ever made some sort of music video. All right, 1, 2, about like
A good
12.
amount. Yeah.
Good amount. All right, raise your hand if you've never made a music video before, but thanks to the power of this wonderful community, you think you might make like one this year or something.
There we go. We like that. We like
All right.
that.
You are what the panel is hopefully going to help the most, but yeah, I think with that,
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah.
Why don't you-
So yeah, we'll go over how we're gonna do this. Free form Q&A. If you have a question, raise your hand, and if we don't see it, yell at us, please. I'm hard of hearing, so that's gonna be an issue. And we're gonna go over a lot of practical film theory, lighting basics, what you actually need. There's a lot of things out there that's like, oh, you don't need a fancy camera. You need an iPhone or Android phone. You get the job done. You just need to know what happens to it. Different kinds of music videos, so narrative, just playthrough, whatever. We'll briefly go over like VFX, green screens, and you. And
I don't know if we can get that introspective, but we can try.
Yeah, we could try.
Yeah, and to Pete's point again, obviously some of you walked in here because you're like, music videos are cool, and you're right. And you may not know what we've worked on, and some of you actually might know some of my videos or some of the videos that Peter's gotten to work with or some of the huge community videos that I've gotten to work with or whatever. So basically, as much as possible, anything's fair game. You can go ahead and raise your hand right now, or else I'm going to start talking to Pete, and we'll kind of get the ball rolling because I'm going to ask you some questions too.
Ooh, okay. So any immediate questions?
Do we have any questions about music videos or even just interesting topics that you want to kind of like throw out there? Nobody yet. It's too early in the morning. All right.
Oh, yeah.
We got one from the front.
Oh, that's a good one. Personally, I love the planning of it. So what I always like to tackle is why I'm making this. So not from a logistical or physical standpoint, but what am I trying to tell in making a music video? So what's the message? What vibe am I trying to give off, to use loose words? I really love that part. And then also physically planning, all right, what kind of lighting do I want? Is it a sad video? Do I have softer lighting, harsher lighting? How am I going to fully tell this story through every single aspect, from lighting, shot choice, color grading, the edit, all of that stuff? I really love the beginning of it, and then the fine details all throughout, all the way through color grading.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think fittingly, my answer, and just to repeat, favorite part of making music videos, that will always vary for person to person. One thing that like this panel is constructed by someone who makes mostly their own videos and comes from that front, and someone who shoots the videos and creates the videos. So like we're coming in from two different angles. So naturally my answer is I like being in the video, like the acting part when the camera's rolling. And one thing that I don't know if we have a slide specifically about it, but I think of a lot of our video game music videos fall into like two overlapping schools of thought or camps. You have people who pick up an instrument, 2007, it's YouTube, and they're just rolling with it. They're playing the song, and that's what the thing is. And then there's like story videos. So like back in 1970s, 80s, 90s even, and still now, you'd have like some story about the song, maybe about the lyrics or the vibe. And when we come to like video games, like we're a visual medium where people are holding swords and fighting dragons. They're exploring interesting places, or they're having emotions, and just regular kind of story elements. So I like finding ways that I can incorporate both. Lately, sometimes my videos will be mostly story as much as I can. For example, I did a Balatro video. Who here has played Balatro? Yep. Who's playing it right now instead of listening to me? Knew they shouldn't have put it on mobile. So again, a lot of people enjoy watching people play music, playing guitar, but it is it's a niche, and it's hard to connect with people over how well I nailed the solo. But it's easy to show people the game that they love so much and that they've lost hours and hours and hours to. So I like incorporating those stories. I pretended to be like at a casino that would play the Balatro game, and obviously in the video I lose it all a lot, and I borrowed elements from the game. So my favorite part of the process comes from like the gamer in me and like wanting to be in that sort of world. And then yeah, I cut to guitars and stuff, which I still love playing guitar and performing that music. But yeah, I think that's like the favorite part of it, just getting to act. Editing's cool too.
Yeah, I like editing.
Yeah, this is a great question to kick it off, honestly.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What is your favorite project you worked on?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a. So, do you want to go first?
Oh, I
or
was
you-
nose goes.
Oh, okay, nose goes.
Is that an old person thing now?
Yeah. So, my favorite, I think, is the videos that we both did with Carlos, Eni, Insane in the
I'm
Rain.
gonna go really fast here.
Yeah, because I think we have a
we have
slide
it?
on this.
Wait.
Yeah, there we go.
You know what? That one's fine.
Yeah, there we go. So Carlos flew us out to Seattle, where he's based, and we had Nico Mendoza.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Shout out
Hey,
to everyone
shout out.
involved in all of our videos
Yeah.
that are also here. There's a good amount of you.
We had 88-bit Rob. I don't know if he's here.
He's here.
He's around. And then Dom Palombi was on that.
Also here.
And a number. Oh, Josh.
Josh Bassett's not here.
Yeah, sad. But it was an in-studio, like music studio recording session where, because they're all playing live music, improvising, doing all that stuff, we wanted to make a high-production music video, and we had to mark out where the lighting was and really capture the moment of the music being played. There's one beautiful song that Carlos wrote called "Missing Piece" that we kind of had a slower, a little bit more messy shooting style for that. That was one of my absolute favorite projects that we've done. Go check out his original album if you've had a chance. Ro and I both worked on it. I edited and color graded all of it, except I didn't edit all the videos, just most of them.
Yeah, and again, like that was the first time I think Pete and I had gotten to both wheeled cameras, as well as we had help from my wife Allison. We had Katie over here, of course, holding camera. We had a lot of like just planning on the spot. We needed like special lens filters, so we ran out to the mall.
Yeah. We even made a improvised color chart. So there's this thing called a color chart. I think we have a picture. I don't know if we do. But what a color chart is it has all sorts of colors on it so that you can match all the cameras. The intention is that in the edit, you just say, hey, here's the colors, and it'll automatically sync up all the colors together. It's a rare thing to find. It's also over $100 for it. And we didn't have the time or the money to get the chart in. So, and we were using Blackmagics, all different Sonys, all of that stuff. So we really need to calibrate the colors. So we ran to Home Depot, and we got paint swatches, all for free. And we taped them onto a piece of Amazon box cardboard.
We have a picture of it with
Yeah, I'm
you,
standing next to
Nico.
Nico in that.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So we did
Homemade
that.
color chart.
Yeah,
Do it.
Homemade color chart. It was surprisingly really great. It didn't automatically do the stuff, but through color grading, I was able to match all the colors, and I think the colors looked great in that. So super fun, difficult, exciting project that I got to work on.
Sure. For me, and I have a special moment in that heart because you get to work with friends. So that one's definitely up there. For me, actually, here's another question. Raise your hand if you have seen any music video that I have made or I'm in.
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay,
That's
that's a good amount. All right. And again, I'll put my name up in the front at the end in case you haven't. So recently, I don't know if everyone's seen the last video I just put out, which is based on the video game Dave the Diver.
Who's played Dave the Diver? Anyone?
Yeah, raise your hand if you played Dave. Okay,
Or
all of
know
you,
him.
I think you would enjoy. Well, it's a wonderful game, but especially this video. So my wife Allison was playing Dave the Diver like almost every day without fail, and obviously the music was on, and I was playing like Pikmin 4 at the time or something, but I would listen and I really loved what I was hearing. The music sounded quirky, and she explained it's a cooking game, and I love to cook, and that it's all based around like a sushi restaurant. And I ended up watching a stream from my friend Jisoon, and I got like so excited. I was like, this is an addicting game, isn't it? So as I started playing it more and more, I got really into the game, but I also thought, wouldn't this be a really cool video? This video took me 1 year. And that's not 1 year of like every so often I would, like start doing something manual. But no, I was working on this video in some capacity every single week, at least.
I could back that up.
Yeah, and
he was sending me all sorts of copies of it.
It was like just after the MAGFest performance that I started working on it. And the idea, of course, is how do you make a music video where the main character is underwater the whole time? So I looked into scuba lessons, and it got really expensive. Okay, this isn't a joke. I looked into boat rentals because the game starts you on a fishing boat, and that got too complex. I looked into North Carolina boating law. That got too expensive and complicated. I looked into so many different avenues, and the simplest thing that I discovered, and we're talking March 2024, was eBay, scuba, and get very specific measurements on your height and your weight. And don't change your diet for a year because my gut would shrink or expand, and then that scuba suit looked sillier. And of course, you get haircuts in a year. And I started thinking about the songs. And by the time another wonderful convention, VGM Con, rolled around, I had started playing around with some idea of a video. I used a program called Unreal Engine 5. Anyone heard of that? Anyone work in Unreal Engine, like play around? A couple?
Nice.
How about Blender? Do we have any more people for Blender? Okay.
Better than me.
Well, I started like learning Blender videos. I watched all of like the 12-year-olds who are geniuses at it. The YouTube shorts where they're like, don't do it this way, do it this way. And slowly that learning process became fun. It seems scary because my initial idea was, let's make a 6-minute music video of swimming and sharks and crazy stuff. And then at the end, in the game, you run a sushi restaurant. So I would start cooking actual sushi and serve it to like pretend customers. And this would be this great video. And then VGM Con rolls around, and I'm like, it's not done. It's not done. But the music, we managed to learn it. My amazing band, some of which are here, of course, picked it up, and we managed to do a set. And the reception of like this early access kind of like preview of the video got me really pushing. So around summertime, I got in my garage. Actually, no, what am I talking about? I moved. So I filmed everything like the weeks before we moved because I wouldn't have a garage anymore. I put on a scuba suit. I got goggles. Again, eBay. The budget for this video is not more than $100.
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
yeah, I'm just sitting in my garage on a stool, and if you see the video, you will sympathize. I'm sitting on a stool to look like I'm swimming, and I'm breathing through this thing. And the one thing they don't tell you before you make a video about scuba diving, where you're not scuba diving, it's hard to breathe through a snorkel if you're not underwater. It feels wrong. So I went through all that. I started making, I used like a Meta Humans, one of the epic, games things, to make a Row the Diver. And I changed all the colors to red because branding. And again, I didn't know what the hell to do. I don't know how to animate. I don't know how to do so many things, but I knew what I wanted. So yeah, the process took me more and more time. Asking friends for help. My friend Leo, who's an amazing like 3D modeler and artist, helped take a free shark and add a bunch of lasers and stuff so it'd look cool. And yeah, I kept pushing it until I was like, all right, it has to be done. Of course, Pete helped with like story flow that really changed the energy of the whole thing. I had friends help with thumbnails. I had musicians for like the actual music part, because musician. And I put it out 2-3 weeks ago. I don't even remember now because it sat for a year, and the reception was incredibly nice. Again, this is not a panel to teach you how to get 1 million views on YouTube. Nobody can teach you that, and I'm the worst person to teach you that. But the fact that so many people said kind things, that they had not seen someone else do it, and that they enjoyed it. Some people tried out the game afterwards, meant the world to me. And within reason, I shared it with the game developers, and they were incredibly receptive to it, which just made my day. We got on a call and everything. So that was all worth it. Maybe if I do another panel, I'll share what comes next. But that was my favorite project.
There we go. Nice. Any other questions so far? Yes?
All right.
How much of the effects that you use are like built into your video editing software or from like external plugins?
So yeah, I'll yeah. What I do is almost exclusively what's built into DaVinci Resolve. That's my editor of choice. I use the paid studio version, but the free one is incredible. If you haven't started editing anything, start on that so you don't get sucked into the Adobe landscape, and there's no escaping that because you're so used to it. But Resolve is incredible. It's free to start, and I use almost exclusively, exclusively everything that's built in VFX-wise. I've even built some tools, so you know the split screen that lots of VGM stuff happens. Well, I made a plugin. Let's see if we have a.
I have a split screen.
Okay, yeah, there we go. I made a plugin using Fusion so that it's way easier to make that on the spot. You don't have to just use PNGs in some other app, make that, transfer it over. It gives you the thing, and then you just crop it around. And I have that to download. It's a little bit broken right now because Resolve 19 changed up some stuff. I'm working on a version 2. Yeah, everything I do is built in, and I just do all kinds of crazy stuff with color grading. That's where I get most of my VFX.
So for me, and again, as I talked ad nauseum about a video that is just filled to the brim with special effects. My playing around with special effects is actually probably longer than almost any other aspect of like tools. I played with like a program in 2009 that just makes the lightsaber effect kind of, and like I started on Sony Movie Studio Vegas or whatever, Sony Vegas, like the cheap one, and then I moved into asking what people had. I use Adobe Premiere, which is if you have like a work related to editing or for whatever reason you can justify the subscriptions and stuff, it is my weapon of choice. It's obviously gotten me a lot of work, but I also use After Effects. I use Resolve for coloring my clips, and my big video, Dave the Diver, used After Effects, Premiere, Resolve, Blender,
Unreal.
and Unreal Engine 5, and probably some third-party plugins that I paid for. Like a lot of things can come into play, but at the same time, I found like one of my passion points is like, what can you get anybody started with? What can be done for free to where you can just no excuses start making the thing in your head. And to that point, again, like Pete said, Resolve has a free version. There's also a lot of like small programs that can do visualizers, that can do like little particles. There's a lot of free overlays for lights and like different effects. And if you ask someone, especially in this community, hey, how'd you do that? I can't imagine anyone not telling you. It's just such a inviting educational kind of circle. So oftentimes, like I can watch a video and even get a sense, like that looks like it's using this effect, and you should do this, or maybe I could do that, but in my version. One thing that mobile phones even have, there's a lot of apps that have built-in special effects, so you can do a lot of things with your phone of choice that you might already have, and then just adjust it later, or ask someone who has the big stuff, hey, like I need help with this one effect. How would you do it? Or could you do that? And in turn, I'll skill trade.
Oh yeah, skill trade is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube for almost every major program. So the advice that I've always been given and give back is like, look, and you should be able to find something close more than ever, and hopefully someone's found a way to do it for free or for cheap, and that way you don't have to, again, invest too far until you really love that stuff.
Yeah, and I want to touch on a few points that you mentioned there. In terms of how I learned everything that I learned, I did go to college, I have a degree and all that stuff. Not a single job that I've ever done has asked me what my diploma was, my education, anything. They just ask about experience, what you've made. And the truth is, all of the practical stuff that I use is stuff that I learned from YouTube or I taught myself while on the job doing anything else. School is not necessary to do this professionally. And if I could go back, I probably wouldn't, because that's a whole lot of money that I'll be paying off in the future.
Relatable.
Yeah. So go out. You could teach yourself all of this stuff. And there's so many great resources, way more now than there used to be. And in terms of equipment, I use fancy equipment, $1,000 cameras, all that stuff. But the truth is, my favorite stuff to use is the way cheaper stuff. So, Jeff, if I could actually have you hold up that camera real quick. Sorry, future Ro or me who's editing this. So if you look at the lens that's on that camera, it is I bought 10 of those lenses for $50, and that is my favorite lens to shoot on. It is a cheap, you can pick these up for cheap. It's like a 60-year-old lens, but I know how to use it, and it gets me better results than anything else. The main lens that I'll be shooting on XP stage, I picked that up for $30 from a flea market somewhere. And it looks just as good as the $1,000 lens that they made last year. This was made in the 90s, and it looks super great. And if we're talking about cameras, the one that you have in your pocket, it nowadays is so good. You could get yourself started. Download the Blackmagic app. You have all manual controls, all that stuff. It's super great, and you could start for free even if you have a budget Android phone. You could do that, and it will look fantastic. For the beginning of my filming career, I used an out-of-date Sony A3000, which sounds fancy. It was not fancy at all. No HDMI out, anything like that. If you have a camera, you can make beautiful stuff, and you don't need anything else. You don't need the fancy stuff. The fancy stuff just makes it more fun.
Does anyone know what a flip video is? I borrowed a flip video. Yeah, all right.
There we go.
Oh, yes. This is one of my first videos back in maybe 2012. I was in college, and I wanted to keep making YouTube videos to, control my sanity and, continue music. So I borrowed from the library a flip video, went into my dorm, lounge area, waited for nobody to be around, and then I propped it up on some books that probably cost $5,000, and then I was just like, this is gonna be awesome. And then my buddy comes out, and I'm like, no, and then he ended up helping anyway.
Hey, beautiful.
All right. Once again, we had a lot of people trickle in during questions. So this is a Q&A panel. Please, at any time, raise your hand, especially while we're talking so we don't miss it. All right.
So when you're talking about sort of quality of cameras, so I have a Canon M50, but also my iPhone is I think it's 13. And I think when I kind of compare this to, I'm I think the M50 was I got it back in 2019. So what do you guys, when you have options like that, what do you look for better quality?
Yeah. Repeat the question too.
Yeah, so that's an incredible question. Thank you for that. The question was, how do you pick between what camera you use? You had an M50 and an iPhone 13. So there's a couple of things that go into this, right? So not to get too nerdy, but the base fundamental part, the first thing you think of is, is it 4K? Is it 1080? Right? The thing is, resolution matters less than something called bit depth, right? So the way that you can think about that is bit depth is essentially color resolution, or how much bit rate is going into the shot. Both are part of it. So I don't have any example. The M50, right? If I remember correctly, that's 4K, but it's 8-bit. Most cameras mid-2010s are 8-bit, unless you have a professional one. And 8-bit is really good. It's 4K. However, there were 1080p 14 or 12, 14, 16-bit cameras that looked better than 4K cameras. So, fun fact, any of the early Marvel movies up to, I think, Endgame, that was shot in 1080p on an Arri Alexa camera.
Except for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, because James Gunn shoots with red cameras.
Yeah, so besides that, all of those were shot in 1080 and then they upscaled it to 4K. That just had really good bit depth and looks better than 4K. The other thing that goes into that, right? So that's the recording type. There's also things like H.264, H.265, ProRes, RAW, Blackmagic RAW, Red RAW, all of that stuff. That goes into the codec. How much can you manipulate that image after you shot it? So this is a roundabout question. I'll get to the beef of it. But basically that means how far can you push the image that you shot? Most phones up until recently, iPhone 13 I think iPhone 13 could have been 12.
ProRes?
Yeah, introduced ProRes. And ProRes, basically that means you toss that into your edit and you could change all sorts of nonsense and the image won't fall apart. What falling apart kind of looks like is weird lines in the middle and colors are separating and it looks very artificial.
Oh no, Pete, we made a mistake. We didn't include any screenshots of where we messed up footage.
We should have done that. Yeah, because I've done that a number of times. When we're talking about that's a huge part. But then there's also the optics, right? So optics meaning lenses. The M50 will probably look better than an iPhone because you're shooting with a whole bunch of layers of real glass as opposed to this kind of plasticky whatever thing. And you get kind of strange lens flaring. You also get the control of something called aperture. So aperture is what allows light in. The wider you have it open, the more out of focus areas you get, the more light that comes in. There's something called the exposure triangle that we might touch on in a bit. We might, who knows. But that all kind of contributes to it. Sensor size is another part. I'm not going to get too much into that, but basically this is like smaller than your fingertip, the sensor on here. The sensor on that camera that we just showed.
Or even this one, yeah.
Yeah, or this one. It's maybe about that big, if you can see where my hands are. That plays a huge factor into a lot of this. So knowing what goes into the image helps me decide what camera I'm going to use. But also at the end of the day, it's what will be easiest for me to actually get this finished? That's the other big thing.
Yeah, like to supplement that, like the question that you asked there is pretty much the most commonly like brought up question because we're in an age where most people have a phone, which means most people have a video camera. So why do Pete and I run around with these things with lenses? And practically speaking, it is kind of going to depend on a lot of things. But as, again, many of you raise your hands saying, maybe this year will be the year I make a music video. And we're going to echo it. Don't let anything stop you from a gear perspective or from a room perspective. I know I've had a lot of conversations where people are like, I have a very small room. I have, neighbors I don't want to wake up when I film, or I don't want to show off like this part, or it's too dark here. And they're all valid, and you will solve many, not all, but many of these things. And I've shot in my basement, in my parents' house, in my bedroom. I've shot in my dorms. I've filmed in a dorm, and then someone actually, like, my video blew up, and then they were like, oh, this guy looks like he's in a college dorm. And I was like, yeah, it means I got to go to college. Like, sorry, I didn't get to go to, like, a film studio. And I've done a music video at a studio, and I've done a video where I didn't spend that money. And you make what you make of it, and especially with money, and this is a place where it's like a hobby for a lot of people for the longest time. So you can't always invest thousands of dollars. Let's keep it going because I know we're at the halfway mark.
Did that answer your question?
Oh.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Megapixels, it does and it doesn't. That kind of goes into resolution. But if you want to chat,
We'll take that
afterwards,
offline.
Really, I could get you covered. Do we have
Another question? Ooh, we have a couple. Can we? Do you want to go to Fred first?
Yeah, Fred.
Sorry, from Scooby-Doo, unless we're mixing up characters. You had your hand up? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. So the question is, and please correct me. So someone who's working with orchestral virtual instruments, which is how much of our games are scored, how would you demonstrate that in a video? For me personally, I've had this question come up, and I've even tried to showcase this. It all goes back to context and what I think would be worth putting a video for. So, many of us were making videos for covers, right? So let's say you're orchestrating something from Twilight Princess, Midna's Lament. Anyone know that song? Okay, cool. I'm at MAGFest. So this isn't a happy song where we need to go out in the sunshine and film daisies. It's a score about someone who's beaten down at like a very climactic moment, and it's really sad, and thinking about it makes me sad. But how do we demonstrate that? And I think what's beautiful about the VGM, YouTube, whatever scene today is like, forget views, because if you want views, you drop Midna on the floor and an arrow pointing and say like, how did this happen? Find out. 16, like top 16 ways Zelda failed us or whatever the hell. So, but the thing is, if you take your dog and strap a Midna plushie to the top of it and make him run a mile and film it, I would watch that 70 times. Because you can, and it's cool, and no one's done it before, and it's unique. And more importantly, you show that to a Zelda fan, they will enjoy it. Screen and you're showing your like orchestration, your sheet music, that will be cool, and it's subjective. All this is subjective, but it'll only be cool to people who are also musicians, performers, players, and they may not connect as deeply as you did when you saw Midna, lamenting. So to that point, again, you can do all sorts of things from screen recordings, visualizers, but my choice would be, what things can I do legally that demonstrate this, this intense moment from a really special game to me. And, to that point, every single cover that I try to make now, unless I'm doing it quickly, I try to think, what's one thing I can do that a gamer would love, that a fan of this movie would love, that I would love if I didn't play guitar, And then you can combine some performance things. But what's your take?
Yeah, so I'm going to bounce off of that. What I like to start with on every video is considering who the audience is, right? Not who are you expecting to see it. It's who you would like to see it. Who is that? Is it you? Do whatever you like, right? Because if you really focus in and you hone in on what that audience is and you do everything that you can to make them appreciate what you made, then other people outside of that audience are going to appreciate it just as much. So you want to focus on that, not from a statistic standpoint. Say, oh, I want to make this for my group of buddies, and they love this stuff. I'm going to toss that in, right? I like to think about, I imagine someone, and I make that for them. Another aspect that I might do is, you mentioned orchestral instruments, and how do you put that throughout? My mind went to a Wolfpack video. Anyone here know Wolfpack? Yeah. They make so amazing music videos. So I'm talking about a Wolfman video. What's the name of it with the sousaphone that's playing? Jack's playing the sousaphone. Okay, either way, there's one where the main guy is playing a sousaphone. There's no sousaphone, no tuba in that song, but he's miming along. And that's great. I love that. So you can totally just mime it out if it's a goofy thing. Like, again, I'm horrible with names of songs. What's the one from Skyward Sword with the...
Oh, Grease
yeah,
thing?
right?
If
you have that and you don't have a trombone, have fun with it. Act it out.
Just get some hair gel and just pop. So
schwaff it up.
I'm going to shout out, like, off the top of my head, a few different YouTubers I know who do this kind of thing. Rich GC, he's a pixel mixer, and he does these very fun green screen friendly videos. they're some of my biggest inspirations too, because they're just funny. And of course, Thunderesk, who edits for my friend Rishadi B, those videos are some of my absolute favorite in the scene. And yes, they showcase that he's a phenomenal guitar player. But there's one from the SpongeBob movie that they did, the Goofy Goober Rock video, and costumes are brought in. And again, we're sitting in an audience full of amazing cosplay right now. This is like one of the many, many, many different ways you can employ something just because you can't play it literally, or you don't have the traditional performance style. My friend Patty Rudisil, another person who does awesome costumes, check out her Seymour's theme video. It's haunting, it's exciting, and it feels very close to what I imagine that section of FF10 is. I haven't gotten that far yet, sorry Colby. But it's just like we have a template that's been set up by many large channels and just like normalcy, like the split screen thing. And my personal take is I do not like those videos on their like that format, because I don't know where to look, and so many videos look like that. So what's one thing you could do your way? So for me, it's adding silly goofs all over the place and switching out the different kinds of scenes or adding VFX. And for you, it might be something else. Maybe you'll find something really, really good. Maybe it'll be comedy. Maybe it'll be just drama. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of options. We had another question. I want to keep going.
Person
yes,
with the
you in the
beautiful
orange.
mask. Good job.
I told you they would.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Questions, where do you start? Go ahead.
I had a great answer for this. I have to think about it for a second.
Ooh, can I follow-up question? So I need to set a scene. So let's say you're a musician. What instrument do you play? Too many of them. All right.
What's your favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite today? Okay, you love guitar, the greatest instrument ever known. So, what's a game that you've been playing lately? What was that? Peglin.
I personally
Okay,
don't know that
so
one.
we're going to pretend that it has the most monumental theme, and it does. Oh, well, that works out then. You're
Hey,
making this
beautiful.
so easy. Thank you. So, that's awesome. So the cycle I followed for like 13 years, which has gotten me where I am, is I play the game, or someone tells me to listen to the song, or some mixture, and I need to make a music video of it. Those decisions are cast, but everything else is still up in the air. So I obviously specialize in progressive rock and metal, so I borrow from a lot of my favorite guitar players and bands and so on for ideas on how songs should be structured for that theme song, the Peglin theme song. And then I'll think about, okay, this is like the general form. I'll record it. This is not a music panel, or else I would go into details. That song is done, and I've tracked it, and I've mixed it to where it sounds good enough. So with that in mind, I'll generally try to think about elements of the game, just like Pete was talking about, and story things that I would feasibly be able to show within, let's say, like a good weekend or a week of work, unless it's a Dave the Diver year-long thing, or so on. So taking elements like this is green, right? Okay, it's still early. So maybe the main character wears like distinct purple and has a hat or something, or maybe I don't know. Is it a penguin game? I'm sorry, it sounded like a penguin game. Goblins. Okay, green.
Goblins.
Perfect. I'm already in costume. Get the camera. So we can already use that as a connection to what the game's about, right? And that means I'm not going to wear red. We won't use red colors, red lighting. You can already start thinking that way. Next, we could say, let's make it a performance video. It's the first one. You should try to keep it simple so that you can start and finish it. I will get a tripod or a friend or my wife or someone to hold the camera. My wife. And hey, honestly, humongous shout out though. My actual wife films a lot of my videos, and I wouldn't be able to make the videos I do without her. So humongous shout out to Allison,
Huge shout
who is not at MAGFest, sadly. But yeah, then I'll think about, okay, what are interesting angles for a guitar to show? That's where you use your musician brain. And since you play other instruments, I'm sure you have different opinions on what's cool for you and what's maybe not that interesting to showcase. I only show myself playing lead guitar because that's my favorite part. That's the most interesting. And from like a Panuganti perspective, I think that's kind of like unique factor, how I write guitar solos or play the same line from the game and all my change-ups. So I'll film that from different angles and let's see. I actually kindly dub these like the bridge angle, the neck angle, the front angle. Let's see. Okay, so here's a good example of two what we'll call wide shots. So I'll usually use these to establish my face, who I am, my costume if I'm wearing one, or the colors. We're goblining, so we got to get green in there. You can't wear it if you're doing green screen. Just in case that was a question, you would have to get a blue screen or wear a different colored shirt and change it in post. And yeah, then I would film myself miming the part, or if you can play it live. I generally don't, because if you're playing and recording at the same time, you're going to mess up. It's going to be a lot harder, and you may not get that much benefit to it. So just relearn your song and do your best, and that's faster. I'll have some close-ups so I can switch between things quite fast, unless this is a slow theme. Then maybe I'll cut slower, I'll do crossfades, and so on, and have like these gentle moments that build up to something interesting. Then, me personally, I'll try to think of some legally safe goblin imagery. That maybe I have a mask, maybe I can add like a little 3D model, maybe I can just bring some special magic from the game and use that as a transition. Little things from the game, again, to where you clicked it, you see my version, and it's special and it's different. And maybe tomorrow Pete becomes a crazy guitar player. He posts his version. It's going to be different, and it's going to be amazing. But we will have two distinct videos that way, where maybe he didn't do all the special effects, but he actually took time to shoot the video better and choose interesting lenses. Whoops. So yeah, walking through all that and then filming it and then editing it together to where I have different angles, keep it interesting, matches some of the videos I do like. I use reference videos for ideas. That's, I think, what takes me to the end of a project. And obviously, everybody has a different take, but the order of operations generally has been make the music, film the video, edit the video, anxiety, post it, get a comment asking for tabs that you don't have, and then you do the next video, and you try to make it just a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'll take this because I don't record music. I just do the videos, right? I'll take this from a more practical standpoint. So like Ro said, when you're thinking of whatever theme you're doing, whatever music video it is, I like to start with dreaming. What is your dream idea? What do you visualize when you hear that song? What's the dream, right? And then you take your inventory of what do you have to accomplish this? Do you have cameras? Do you have lights? What locations can you film at? What can you do with all of that? And how does that dream play into your physical materials? Then, if you're having a hard time dreaming it, what vibe do you get? What media exists that inspires you? Is there a movie, an anime, another video game, some music, a music video, a painting? I've done a number of short films inspired by a painting. Imagine that, dream that, inventory, go out and film it to the best of your ability, get creative with it, edit, look up tutorials, do all of that stuff, and there you go. Short list, but that's my take on that. Cool. I hope that answers.
We got 15, so...
Oh, yeah, 15.
We could do some quicker questions.
Yeah.
One quick thing. I'm going to flip through the panels here just to spark ideas. We have a few on collaboration, since that's a very popular form of music video, and a few other categories. But nonetheless, again, questions come in. We got 15 minutes, and then...
I see one.
Yes.
Ooh.
Start with the quiz.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, do we want to... so first, let's do a quick quiz, right, on, let's say, this shot right here, same shot, but different color grades put onto it. Take a guess on the lower left-hand side. What might that be a still from? Let's say it's a video game, or a level, or whatnot. Any guess? on the vibe, or
Yeah, like what game does this picture make you feel? You can shout it out. I heard Fall Guys. Mystery. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, maybe like a Phoenix Wright scene, like when the person's getting whacked.
Right?
You know, like that cutscene where they spoil the entire mystery and then you go and solve it.
Or maybe it's a sad thing.
I was thinking like a not cyberpunk, but like Heavy Rain or something.
Oh yeah, something serious and dramatic.
And then, yeah, it's obviously contrasting the other two a good bit. What about the top one?
Hope? I like that. Yeah, there's some warmth, some comfort to that. Yeah. And then the bottom right, what do you feel? What's the sad? Do what? Flashback? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, desaturated, lower colors, maybe even like a 2007 AAA game, if we remember those. Here's a couple more. We could do that. Any ideas on what these were stills from music videos?
If you actually know the actual video, I will be so impressed.
Let's start with the top left. Any guesses?
That's
That's
unfair.
a good quote.
That's too smart a guess.
Oh,
Actually,
that's
you'll
pretty
know.
close. So that's from the, I think, Dire Docks that he did. Yeah, so an underwater kind of Shape of Water type of color grade on that. What about bottom left? Any guesses on that?
Oh my god.
Same era, but no. Pig Step, yes, that's Pig Step.
Good job.
Good job. Top right. Any guesses? And Nico, no cheating. Any guesses on that one? Deltarune, yes. And then bottom right. Yeah, Rito Village. That is.
Tell Carlos.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So yeah, to go back to the question before on what color grading is versus color correction. So color correction is, let's say that you're filming, well, in this room, there's lots of really warm lights, and you set your white balance. What white balance is? Think about, okay, you go outside, the light is, a neutral white, right? And then you look at a fire. That fire is this really warm yellowish kind of look, or incandescent bulbs back in the day before LEDs made it easier to change up color temperature in your house. Both of those are white, but it's the different temperature of white. So in the camera, you have something called white balance that will tune where the neutral white point is. So if we're filming in here and you set the white balance to like what you would have filming with a full moon outside, that would be way too blue, and this room would look way too red and white. And also, let's look at that light all the way at the end. You see how that's a little bit less warm? It's kind of greenish tint. Well, so if everything in this room had that greenish tint and we didn't correct for that, the whole image will look slightly more green. So what you'll do in the color correction is you go in and you say, oh, this is too green. I'm going to add more magenta into that because those are opposites for some reason. Yeah, it's weird. You kind of get into it as you're color grading. But yeah, so you add magenta. If it's too warm, you add more blue, right? And they have a feature that's super easy to kind of figure out and all of that. So you correct for that, and then you also correct for exposure. So did you film it and it's way too bright? So most of the time you can't recover from that. But let's say that you shot in RAW. You could bring down that exposure quite a bit so that it's not overwhelmingly bright and in your face. Or let's say it's too dark. You could usually brighten that up a pretty good amount. So that's correction. You're correcting the color, and you're correcting the exposure. For color grading, what you're doing is you're adding a vibe and a meaning to it. So you have your what actually happened in the correction, and that happens first. Then you add on the if we can find that.
I'm looking for a few other examples of.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a good slide.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, you add the emotion into it. So that's the subtle part, the subjective thing that you're adding in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More questions? Yes, you in the hat.
I have two questions. One was, what was the lens that you said you got 5 or 50 or 10? What
Should we take?
Yeah. So that is, I got 10 C-mount lenses. So they were used on old TV and old security cameras, and that's the mount type. The one that I had is it's Fujifilm 17.5 to 100 point or to 105 millimeter f2.8 or something. It's a really beautiful lens. If you buy it on eBay, sometimes it's like $300. I got an incredible deal for that. But check Facebook Marketplace, look at lenses, and or eBay, or get a lot. And typically most people don't know what they have. It's some, their grandpa's stuff that they don't know what it is. They're giving it out basically for free. Pick some of those up. Any vintage lens that I've picked up has been incredible. So,
And second question.
Yes, so this is about the collaboration.
Ooh, yay.
What's the ideal order or process for producing music video with remote musicians?
I'll try to get this one fast.
Oh, yeah. That their art align. And then what steps can you take to maintain consistent lighting, camera angles, and overall vibe? Considering everybody has different setups and
That's a fantastic question. So the question, of course, is, how do you work on collaborative videos, and especially taking account all the different factors that you kindly mentioned? So everyone has different cameras, different lighting, often different locations, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to do this one real quick because we're at the last few minutes. There's 2 examples. One is this video. Do you recognize any parts of this video? Anyone in the audience? I think there's one person in the video. Okay, so this is, if you look up the Paper Mario Origami King medley, this came out in 2021. It was absurd amount of work. It's the other most meaningful video I've made. And this was made by 170 musicians, many of which have gone to MAGFest, and composers. Obviously, that's Grant Kirkhope of Banjo-Kazooie, my favorite composer, shredding over there next to some other people. Oh, and the amazing 8-bit drummer. And then there's a huge wall of choirs sung by people from all over the country and quite all over the world. So when you're making a 2-person collaboration or a 200-person collaboration, things like planning come into effect when it comes to what should the final video be like. So this group was organized under the amazing Laura Intrivia, and I was working with not only Peter and myself, but Thomas Kreisky and Robbie DeGay of the Game Brass Band. And we met very frequently to talk about those kind of end goal. What is the video going to look like, and what's normal? Again, you can't make these huge blockbuster movies in your mind and then expect 170 people to all go out and buy cameras.
Yeah.
We did style guidelines. I actually recently talked to Sean Hansen over here on the Game Grooves Uncovered podcast about collaborations, where he was able to disclose his process for a very large collaboration. So I go into more detail there. But yeah, it's coordination, accepting not everyone will be, using the same stuff, synchronizing. There's a lot of different tech that works for that. So it's just about organizing and accepting, it won't look super like you were all there together. Sometimes, Cactus has, for their video You're Lost, they actually worked with me and they flew me out and we all did it in person. There's nothing to worry about there with different qualities per se, although we did green screen one person in. But yeah, that's my quick answer. We may have to move to lightning round for the last 2 minutes.
We can elaborate further if you want to chat afterwards.
Yes. We may have to leave the room, but we'll be outside
Yeah.
for a little bit.
All
right.
Yeah. Should we
Lightning
close?
round questions, or we can close at 1 minute.
Oh yeah, we'll close it.
Anyone last question?
Real quick question. Yes. Get more lights. Yeah, just get more. Get as many as you can. I have these great ones, Jeff, in that bag. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm including him.
If you feel like you need more
Look at
lights
that.
to
That's-
look or color differently, that's one thing.
Yeah,
but
so
you should have
these
plenty.
lights, I picked that up for $10. Incredible, super good. Newer makes one that looks like that. It's typically $20 or $12 on sale. Get more of them. The more lights that you have, the more you could shape. Just do whatever you can, battery powered. Find good deals, find bundles. Do that. Learn about softness, diffusion, 3-point lighting. That's another thing. If you come get a business card from me, I have a little 3-point lighting diagram at the bottom. Look up 3-point lighting. That's a huge thing. Definition and shaping someone. Google that, and that will give you all of your answers. It will be a rabbit hole.
Okay, I think we're just about at time for the music video panel here, and of course there's a whole weekend of really great panels, some done by friends of mine, and just a lot of good education. So of course, if any of you in the audience enjoyed this, please let us know. Of course, we'll be outside for a little bit before we have to do more things.
Yeah, feel free to ask us questions out there and get business cards and
Yeah,
such.
and of course, what else?
Should we plug what else we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got
So-
for the weekend?
So tomorrow at, what was it, 7:40?
7.
7. Ro
Doing a
and
music
I
video.
are shooting a music video for Premium Vintage. Right
Also,
there.
main
Yeah.
stage on Saturday.
Incredible. And so we're going to be filming that for, an hour and a half, talking about the process, showing different angles, all of that good stuff. So if you want to see what we're talking about live and us talking about the process, go to that. And then Saturday at, I think it's 8 o'clock. It's right after Premium Vintage, funny enough. 10 minutes after they're done on main stage. I'm doing a more lecture-y type thing, going into what goes into a camera exposure, getting to know it. And it's going to be very hands-on. Bring a camera, download the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema app. No, not that. I'll talk about it. It's in the guidebook. Go there if you really want some good hands-on stuff. It'll be fun.
Yeah, so myself, obviously, after this, and in addition to helping with the video tomorrow, I'm playing with the amazing Stephen Higby and friends in like an hour at the Belvedere. I'll be playing some guitar this year. I didn't plan to, but whoops. And then afterwards, I'll be helping taking photos for, I think, Fandom Fight. I'll be around the XP stage filming. So if you do have interest in how all that goes, you're always welcome. And just like Pete said, we've got some business cards in case you have questions for emails. And obviously my YouTube channel, Panuganti, has all of my videos and my music's everywhere. And we have a playlist that we can always share of things that Pete's worked on, that I've worked on for other people in addition to my own videos. And if you found this panel interesting, hopefully I would love to find out if you made a video thanks to it or if you need help with it, because this is an amazing process and it led me to my 10th MAGFest ever, all sorts of great opportunities. So thank you again. Thanks, MAGFest.
Yeah. Woo. I'm going to take a picture of y'all if that's all right.
We're going to take a quick picture in case you want to stay seated and wave.
Yeah, I can't get everyone in.
A film picture.